The Hike of Horror, posted by Shack Oatmeal 420. It was a cold, dark night in California as me, my boyfriend and my best friend decided to go on a nightly hike. As we were heading up the mountain, my boyfriend spotted a shadow-like figure in the distance, about 20 yards away. The figure was tall, skinny, and was wearing a mask. We noticed that the figure was holding something in his hands. One of the objects he was holding was dripping of a thick, unknown fluid. The figure tossed the object in his left hand in our direction. The object hit the ground, making a wet sound as it rolled to our feet. We realized that what the figure threw at us was a bloody, severed head of an unknown girl. The sight of her lifeless eyes, the smell of fresh metal and blood leaking out from her neck, the feeling of her bloody head rolling on my feet was enough to make me vomit my stomach out. We let out blood-curdling screams as we tried running away from the figure, but the man was abnormally too fast for us to get away from. He got a grip on my friend, putting a machete to his throat. "Take another step, and I fucking cut him," the figure said in a deep, sinister voice. I tried to slowly inch towards my friend to save him from the man's grasp, but by the time my hand had reached him, it was too late. The figure swiftly split open my best friend's throat, causing his blood to splash all over my face. I watched in horror as I watched my best friend fall to the floor, reaching his hand out at me. The scent of his sweet blood filled the air. The sound of him gargling on his own blood invaded our ears. The sight of life leaving his bright blue, hopeful eyes made me scream out in agony and guilt over being unable to save my best friend's life. My boyfriend grabbed my shirt, lifting me up. "Come on, babe, we have to go," he yelled out. After 15 minutes of running, we managed to outrun the killer and make it back to the car, packing everything up and driving like hell back to the house. I called the cops when we got back to the house, telling them what happened. It's been 3 years since then, but I'll never be able to unsee the look on my dying friend's face. Amphetamine, posted by Bloody Spaghetti. I haven't slept in days. I'm running low on amphetamines and coffee. I don't think I'll last much longer. I don't want to go back to sleep again. I don't know if I can go to sleep again just yet. I keep hearing it's marching every now and again, somewhere in the background still. This thing is too fucking good at staying hidden from the light. Everything started days ago, not sure how many. They've been bleeding into each other now, maybe 6, maybe 7, somewhere around that mark. Yeah, somewhere around that time frame. A week without sleep, that's the longest I've ever gone. Pretty cool, I guess. if I wasn't this messed up by exhaustion, anxiety, and that freak running around inside my house. Where was I? Oh yeah, I'm an insomniac, so it's pretty hard for me to sleep sometimes. And boy, when I do get to sleep, it's a blessing. So when that thing showed up and robbed me of my sleep, I lost it. I admit this much, I lost it. I remember waking up feeling something was standing over me. I opened my eyes, but I couldn't see anything. I looked around seeing nothing, and nothing was there, but the feeling of something watching me grew ever more intense. The gaze of darkness was penetrating deeper and deeper into my mind. My anxious mind started turning its gears. Nothing too malicious, just thoughts, endless thoughts, firing off, faster and faster, until I saw some movement in my periphery of my eye. The quiet before the storm. Brain activity slumped to a screeching halt before the floodgates of madness burst open ajar. The thought of an intruder kept racing inside of my head with an ever-increasing intensity as I slowly rose up in my bed into a seated position. An explosive sound of a chair falling somewhere beyond the hall went off. The dread had overflown the dams of my sanity, pushing the brain to pump out adrenaline into my system. My heartbeat mimicked the engine of a race car as I tiptoed my way into the hall, carefully tracing my hand along the walls, making sure I turn on the light in each room I pass. There was hope in my mind that it would discourage the intruder and force him to run away. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I heard something being broken in the kitchen, a sound that prompted my mind to change gears. Dread turned into angry bravado. I bolted into the kitchen, screaming like a madman. My hand hit the light switch and everything stopped again. The stillness of time was broken by the horror in front of me, screeching and bellowing in inhuman ways. A naked, misshapen human pretzel stood in front of me, its face covered in a brown substance. A terrible stench assaulted my nostrils, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Arms crossed over each other, one leg in the air, another tubbed behind a bald, wrinkled head. The mouth and eyes are reversed in position. Wrinkles, very visible wrinkles, an obvious sign of a horribly twisted neck. My screaming intertwined with the monster's, deafening everything in sight. I can swear our collective song must have shattered the glass in the kitchen. Otherwise, I remained frozen as the creature awkwardly balanced all four of its contorted limbs in a mind-boggling angular fashion, almost rolling itself towards me as it roared and barked. It seemed to move in slow motion, while in reality it was almost flying towards me. The stench of shit and old was closing in on me. Before I knew it, a rough, stony, jagged limb pushed me to the floor as the creature bolted towards the darkness of the night. A wave of burning cold shivers smashed against my already tensed frame as the beast disappeared into the nothing. I spend the rest of that night in the same position, too afraid to move, When day broke, I was finally calm and tired enough to get up. As I got around to assessing the damage, I found something that forced me back into a shell-shocked state. Bloody shit stains all over the floor. The stench of death returned once more. It was closer than ever. That's when I noticed the red-brown mark on my pants in the shape of a hand. I fell onto my ass, nearly killing myself in the process at the realization that thing had touched me. I honestly don't remember the rest of that day, but when night came and my head was becoming truly too heavy to hold upright, I remember looking out of my window and seeing a pair of bright eyes at an awkward angle. A row of jagged teeth suddenly appeared above the eyes. Every fibre in my body turned to stone as a low grumbling noise trailed off behind me, before disappearing into the dark along with the eyes and teeth. Ever since that moment, I keep seeing that thing at the edge of my field of vision. I keep hearing its disgusting sounds as it roams the house. Occasionally, I can even taste its odour penetrating my mouth as my body attempts to doze off, before immediately jolting awake, shaking in terror. I haven't slept since, trapped somewhere between a lucid wake-mare and a corporeal nightmare. Werewolves and Aliens, posted by Bloody Spaghetti. For starters, what I'm about to share here isn't some sort of alternative lifestyle or a fetish. I am practicing something our ancestors have been part in for many centuries prior to the arrival of Christianity. I am not a furry or other kin. I'm not even Etherean. I am Koros, a man who is one with the beast inside, a young bull elephant in perpetual musts, without the sexual cravings, I might add. I live on the edge of society, as I am neither man nor truly a beast. I do feel a connection with the primal world, and I honestly prefer to spend my life being one with nature, in the real jungle, or rather forest, rather than the concrete jungle of the modern human world. Every now and again I shed my human form, that being societal norms, and run off to spend a month in the wilderness, naked and without any human contact, equipped only with my instincts and a bear's pelt. In order to fully shed my humanity, I also drink a concoction of contents, of which I won't reveal here. This concoction helps me lose all my shame and clouds my logical brain. It allows the bear inside to take over. I know all of this might come off as weird or even insane, but consider all other acts of spirituality you might have come across: mutilations, ritual drowning, ritual cannibalism, reminiscing about long-forgotten slavery, and so on. All of the above are part of the normal religious stuff, reuniting with your true internal self. However, that has to be conforming and without any real external expression. People think I'm a freak for worshipping a one-eyed shape, shifting God that governs over nature. The same people worship an invisible deity, a corpse of their own money. Anyway, I'm digressing. Last time I went on my humanitarian hibernation, I was travelling in the Ukraine. The urge to unite with nature is uncontrollable, and it comes on its own. When the beast calls, it cannot be denied. The roars of the animal are audible at the back of my mind. I must heed their commands and become the bear that dwells inside. So I made all the necessary preparations to awaken the beast and allow my humanity to slip into hibernation, and left the full safety of Lviv to roam the forests of western Ukraine. I think I've had an alien encounter somewhere there. At some point, to be quite honest, I can never exactly remember the details of my animalistic journey. That said, I remember just chewing on berries when a bright flash, an explosion of heavenly flame straight from the fields of Valhalla, burst straight through the clouds not too far away, blinding my sensitive eyes. Curiosity took over my forelegs, forcing me to find the source of the strange light. To my surprise, a poacher stood, gun pointed towards a smoking cloud that smelled way too foul for my nostrils. The poacher's presence angered me, and I started snarling at him. He noticed me and started screaming words that seemed to blend into each other as he struggled to keep his eyes, gun pointed at the smoke screen. I was getting angrier at the poacher as he seemed to grow more and more volatile. I was ready to pounce at him, but a loud crack tore through the air and my eardrums. The smoke screen faded, and a large, strange creature, the likes of which I've never seen before, stood in its place. Pins and needles ran across my skin, and the whole situation seemed to be growing tense and not my favour. The strange creature looked like a darkish, bluish Tyrannosaurus with a deformed, conical, elongated head. There was a vertical organ at the base of its head and two dangling bushy structures on each side of a gigantic, multi-pupilled eye. Another thunderous crack echoed through the air, and in response the strange creature shot something out of the spiked organ, hanging between its four long and dangling arms. The poacher screamed in agony as I watched his body inflating like a balloon before exploding into a mass of flesh and gore. The creature then let out a terrifying, high-pitched screech that sounded like something between a turkey and an owl, but twisting and guttural. The sound scared me so much I ran up a tree. Looking back, saw the creature standing right beneath me, its eye rolling in its lens-like organ before it let out its painfully long tongue, which touched me, sending shivers down my spine. A bright flash of burning hot light descended once again from the sky. Its luminosity nearly caused me to fall from the tree, but I managed to hang on. When the light faded out, I was left alone with a pile of human matter and the charred remains of another falling down with the tree nearly gave me a heart attack. Luckily, my Lord has ensured my safety, and I was left relatively unharmed. And that's it for tonight, my little hellhounds. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed tonight's scary stories, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video and click the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. If you have any scary stories you want narrated on the channel, then submit them to Reddit r/homeofscares and follow me on Twitter at homeofscares. Now, good night, my little hellhounds.